I get on this app to share about how I had to remove my mentally ill, now 12-year-old from my household. And there's a lot of you who don't like it. People have made videos twisting the narrative, making it seem like I abandoned my daughter, which isn't the case whatsoever. If you listen to my videos, you would know that. I am still very actively in her life. I get a lot of comments that say, don't be surprised when she's an adult and goes no contact for you posting her business. But what you guys don't understand is this is my business too. This is my trauma too. Childhood mental illness doesn't just affect that child. It affects every single person within the family, within the household, within the school. Would it be okay if a peer got on here and talked about how my daughter's mental illness is affecting her in school? You guys wouldn't be saying, oh my gosh, you shouldn't be posting this. No, you guys would be like, oh, poor you. But if my daughter decides to go no contact when she's an adult, that's something that I have to live with. So why are you guys concerned?
This story is tough. It is emotional, controversial, and deeply uncomfortable. But that's what makes it important. Because at the heart of it is a mother, a sick child, and a decision that left the internet completely torn. Her name is Megals. She's a TikTok mom with over 62,000 followers. And recently, she went viral after revealing that she kicked her 9-year-old daughter 3 years ago. A daughter she says was mentally ill. The internet exploded. In her now viral video, Megals explained that her daughter was a danger to her family. She told stories of her daughter attacking siblings, throwing a 3-month-old baby, and even nearly causing a car crash by covering Megals' eyes while driving. She framed her decision as one made out of necessity to protect the rest of her children. And honestly, some people agreed with her. Because when your child is putting others at risk, real risk, not just minor tantrums, it forces you into a corner. Do you wait until someone gets seriously hurt? Or do you act before this happens?
3 years ago, I kicked my mentally ill 9-year-old out of my household for the safety and well-being of me as well as her siblings. Things that she would do that would put everyone in harm's way. One of the major things that she would do is if she was in the back seat and she was irritated or, you said something to her that she didn't like, or sometimes it was just random, she would get behind my seat and she would cover my eyes while I'm driving down the road. And I'm having to fight her to get her off of me. And that is super dangerous. She would attack her siblings unprovoked. One time she got in trouble and she went and flipped her 3-month-old brother out of his swing into the floor. She took the dog kennel, we had a little Shih Tzu named Bella, and she took the dog kennel that this little puppy was in and she threw it across her room. She threw a candle at the back of her brother's head and he had to get stitches. She hit one of her sisters in the head in the eye with a baseball bat because she was beefing with somebody else and for whatever reason took it out on her sister. I have custody of my 8-year-old niece, and one day she was sleeping on the couch and my daughter walked by her and just smacked her in the face with a shoe because she was in trouble. I can go on and on and on about the things that my daughter did to everyone, but I think you guys get the point. So those of you who are judging and hating on me for removing my daughter from my household, I want to know what you would have done in these situations because disciplining my child only made things worse.
Some viewers believed she did what any responsible parent would do. She made a painful decision to protect the majority, even if it meant removing one child from the home. But even people who agreed with her decision found themselves uneasy with how she presented it, because the way she said it is what started a storm. She didn't say, I relocated my daughter to get help. She didn't say, we placed her in a safer environment. She said, I kicked out my 9-year-old. No emotion, no softness, just one harsh sentence. And that phrase changed everything. It didn't sound like a cry for support. It sounded like a headline, like a clickbait. And that made people question her motives. Was this about helping her child and raising awareness? Or was it about going viral? Language matters. Words hold power. And the phrase, kicked out, didn't just sound harsh. It sounded final. It didn't sound like a parent trying to protect their child. It sounded like someone giving up, like someone washing their hands off responsibility, like someone who had reached the end of their rope and wanted the world to know, not in a cry for help, but with a tone of finality. That line didn't feel like love. It felt like rejection. What made it worse? In the same video, Megals never once mentioned any concrete steps she took to get her daughter meaningful help before deciding to remove her. There was no mention of psychiatrists, no hint of specialized behavioral plan, or no commitment to long-term therapy that might address what her daughter was going through. She said she disciplined her, but never explained what that meant. And discipline alone, without understanding the root of a child's pain, often makes things worse. And that raised a critical question. Was this child truly dangerous? Or was she in deep distress, acting out in the only way she knew how? Was this really an evil child, as the tone suggested? Or was she a little girl overwhelmed by emotions no one had helped her process? Kids don't come into the world violent or cruel. Something leads them there. Meggles painted her daughter as someone who hurt others without reason, but she didn't seem to ask herself why her daughter was acting like this. She didn't tell viewers what trauma might have shaped her child, what signs had been there earlier, or how her own parenting played into it. There was no reflection, only frustration. This wasn't a child lashing out at her environment. This was a child who was clearly hurting, deeply, and yet, in all of Meggles' storytelling, there was no softness, no pause to consider what her daughter might have been going through emotionally. Just a list of violent acts and a mother saying she had no choice but to kick her out. And that silence, that said a lot more than she realized, because when a parent can list every time their child caused harm, but never once acknowledged the pain behind it, that's not just a parenting failure, that's emotional neglect. And it's a detail many people didn't miss. The bigger question, why share it online? Even if this was a parenting decision Meggles believed was right in the moment, the real question became, why take it to TikTok? Why broadcast her child's deepest struggles to an audience of 62,000 people, most of whom were strangers? There are private ways to seek help or connect with others going through the same thing, but Meggles chose the most public platform possible. And it didn't stop there. She didn't keep her daughter anonymous. She didn't blur her face or hide her identity. She showed her, clear as day. No filter, no protection. That's where the public really drew the line. Because now, her daughter's darkest, most vulnerable moments are online forever. Not just as a vague story, but attached to her name, her face, her childhood. What happens when she grows up and wants to leave the chapter behind? What happens when she applies to a school, looks for a job, or even tries to build healthy relationships, and someone Googles her name? What then? Even if we give Meggles the benefit of the doubt for the decision she made, was she right in how she told the world about it? Was this really for support and awareness? Or was it content? Because the damage from oversharing can last far longer than any diagnosis. Where did her daughter go? So where did Meggles send her daughter? According to her, the girl now lives with her grandmother and her biological father's girlfriend. Her biological father, however, is currently in jail. But Meggles didn't share any details about why he's incarcerated. She also didn't speak about how his absence or potentially his past behavior may have impacted their daughter emotionally or psychologically. Was he violent? Was he abusive? Did she witness anything traumatic? We don't know because Meggles left that part blank. What we do know is that her daughter didn't just suddenly start acting out at age 9. Meggles admitted that the warning signs started early, at the age 3. At age 5, the little girl had already been prescribed medication, and since then, she's cycled through 6 different therapists. Not one of them, according to Meggles, saw lasting progress. Not one plan worked.
So these behaviors didn't just start randomly one day, okay? I noticed signs really early on, but I chalked it up to, oh, she's just a baby, like, oh, she's just a toddler, she's gonna grow out of it, you know? But by the time she was 3, her behavior was so severe that I was reaching out to any professional who would listen to me. She did start therapy when she was 3 years old, and by the time she was 5, she started medication. So she's been on medication for 7 years, and in the past 7 years, we have not found one medication that helps her. She can't do stimulants because they make her super emotional and more violent than she already is. We've tried an abundance of different mood stabilizers. She's been inpatient several times. We have done family therapy. We have done play therapy. We have done everything that any professional has recommended to us. She has seen, I think we're up to 6 outpatient therapists now. Every therapist that she has seen releases her after 2 years due to zero progress. They tell me she has made zero progress in therapy. Therefore, they don't know what else they can do for her. I have tried taking her by herself and doing things with her, and as soon as something doesn't go her way, she'll lose her mind. She currently lives with her grandparents and her biological dad. He's currently in jail right now, but his girlfriend is still there and helping. The difference in her living there and her living at my house is there's no kids there for her to beat up on.
And that's heartbreaking. Megals went on to list her daughter's diagnosis: disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, ADHD, and OCD.
So you're curious what she's diagnosed with, and I am here to be 100% transparent with you guys. We are currently seeking other diagnosis right now, but as of right now, the diagnosis that she has, and she's been diagnosed with these things since she was 6 years old, is disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, ADHD, OCD, and I feel like there's one more that I'm missing and I can't think of it right now. But if you look DMDD up, it does explain a lot of what we go through with her, or DDMD, which is the disruptive dysregulation mood disorder. But I have looked pandas up, and that also screams my daughter. We are currently on the wait list. She has an appointment in July to get another psychiatrist or psychologist's opinion on what they think her diagnosis should be. So that's where we're at right now.
That's not just one label. That's a heavy list for any child, let alone one little girl who is still trying to grow up in the middle of all this. It's clear this child was struggling on multiple levels, but the bigger question still lingers. Was she ever in an environment that supported her recovery? Or was she constantly surrounded by chaos she never chose? Did Megals take any accountability? Sort of. She explained that she had her daughter when she was still a teenager, young, overwhelmed, and unprepared. At the time, she was living on government assistance, raising 2 babies who were less than a year apart. She said she suffered from postpartum depression and didn't have much support around her. She insists she never physically had her kids, but then admits something that raised eyebrows. She used to lock her daughter in her room so she could get some sleep. She now says she's a better mother, that she's grown and learned with time. She says she didn't know what to do back then, that she was just trying to survive. But even in her reflection, there is a distance, like she's talking about a stranger, not her own child. And then came the part that hit the hardest. She said, I loved her. Not love, loved. Past tense. And that simple word choice changed the tone completely. Was it a slip of the tongue, or was it a glimpse into how she truly feels now? That part, it hurt to hear. Because no matter what happened, this was still her child. A child she brought into the world. And hearing the love spoken about in past tense made it feel like she had closed the chapter on her daughter before the story was ever given a real chance to heal. Was the child actually dangerous? According to Megals, yes. She firmly believes her daughter was genuinely dangerous, not just acting out, but intentionally trying to harm others. She recalled an incident where her daughter allegedly sprayed cleaner all over the tile floor, hoping her grandmother would sleep. And she also mentioned how the child had a puppy and physically harmed her siblings multiple times, sometimes leaving them with serious injury. These weren't isolated.
If you wanna be holy, rock on, but if you gon' be judgy, get gone.
you must have not been following me from the beginning, because I definitely have owned up to what I think might have contributed to some of this. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I was with her dad. We were both teenagers. There was a lot of abuse and fighting while I was pregnant with her, which could have obviously contributed to some of her rage. She had a 2-vesseled umbilical cord, therefore she stopped getting nutrition and stopped growing at 32 weeks. I carried her to 39 weeks, and she only weighed 5 pounds 4 ounces when she was born. She was deprived of oxygen and nutrition, which can also be a factor into the way that she acts. I've never claimed to be a perfect parent. I had 2 kids by the time I was 18 years old, and they're only 14 months apart. I was a single mom living in government housing. I had postpartum depression. I've never used that as an excuse. I know that I am a much better mother now, more patient, more understanding than I was when my 2 oldest were babies. I never neglected them. I never hurt them physically, but my daughter didn't sleep at all, never. And so there was times that she had to be put in her room, and I had one of those little safety lock things on the inside of her door just so I could get some sleep at night. And I'm sure that was traumatic for her, now that I look back. But I was alone, no village, no family, nothing. Alone in an apartment with 2 babies, and I was a baby myself. So like I said, that doesn't excuse anything. I'm sure that does contribute to some things that have happened. I've never claimed to be the best mom in the entire world, but I did love her, and there was early intervention. I've reached out to every body that I could possibly think of to try and help me. So if that makes me a narc, it is what it is. I can wholeheartedly say that I tried, and I'm still trying.
These weren't isolated events. According to Megals, they were patterns of behavior that terrified her. But even still, the question remains, did Megals ever focus on healing the root cause? Because when your child is in that much distress, the response shouldn't stop at punishment or separation. You don't just discipline a child in crisis, you investigate. You find the pain, you treat it. You try to understand what's underneath the outbursts. And to her credit, Megals did make attempts. She said she spent years trying to find the right medication for her daughter. They tried family therapy, play therapy, counseling, different therapists. She even received a professional recommendation to place her daughter in a long-term facility where she could be properly monitored and treated.
Well, unfortunately, she's not in a facility. We can't find one long-term that will keep her or that will take her. She has been inpatient in short-term facilities several times, and she was referred by her psychiatrist to go to a long-term facility, but they denied her because the school pressed assault charges against her. So, this is what about 80% of America is dealing with, is the lack of resources. I am posting these videos, being vulnerable and putting my life out there and mine and my daughter's struggles and what it's like to raise a mentally ill child. So other parents know that they're not alone, that there's more than just them dealing with the same situations. Because unfortunately, the amount of people who have reached out to me and let me know that they are in the same position as us is unbelievable. And it's because nobody wants to speak out about childhood mental illness. Nobody wants to tell what's going on inside their household. Everyone wants to pretend like their kid doesn't have issues, and they want to sweep the problems under the rugs, and that's why we lack resources. So I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep spreading, I'm going to keep sharing what I've gone through, what, my child's done, and how we've coped with that, and how we're moving forward, and all of those things. And as soon as I find resources, you better believe I'm sharing them. But as of right now, she lives with her grandmother.
But when the time came to follow through, it didn't happen because the faculty declined to take her daughter due to an assault charge from school. And after that, Megals seemed to hit a wall. The resources ran dry, the options got smaller, the hope got harder to hold on to. But the issue isn't just what she tried. It's how she spoke about it, because when Megals talks about her daughter's trauma, it doesn't come from a place of empathy. It doesn't sound like grief or guilt. It sounds like exhaustion, like someone who sees their child more as a problem than a person. And that's the part that stings. That's what made people watching feel uncomfortable. Because even in the hardest parenting moments, there should be tenderness, a flicker of love, a moment of, I wish things had gone differently. But for Megals, all we had was blame and burnout. As expected, the internet clapped back hard. Commenters didn't hold back, calling her a narcissist, someone who wanted pity and attention instead of accountability. Many felt she was pushing all the blame onto her child while skipping over the ways she may have contributed to her daughter's trauma. One of the biggest questions repeated across hundreds of comments was simple. Why didn't you just keep it anonymous? If your child is going through something so deeply personal and painful, why attach her face to it? Why not protect her privacy? Megal's answer, I don't care. And she meant it. In one video, she casually said, I ruined my reputation when I was 5. She laughed, shrugged it off. She didn't try to clarify or even show remorse. She just leaned in. She doubled down. She said she's always been an oversharer and she's not going to stop now. But here's the issue. This wasn't just her story to share. It was her daughter's pain, her daughter's name, her daughter's face. And what might have felt like just another story time to Megals, another viral moment on TikTok, was actually a cry for her, not just from the daughter, but from everyone watching who recognized how wrong this all felt. Because this wasn't awareness, it was exposure, and no child deserves her daughter's future. One day, this child might recover. She might go through therapy, find healing, and rebuild a life far away from the chaos she grew up in. She might grow into a balanced, emotionally healthy adult, but no matter how much she heals, she will never be able to escape what her mother put on the internet. Imagine being a teenager, scrolling through the internet, only to find videos of your own mother calling you a psychopath. Not behind closed doors, not in a therapist's office, but publicly, for the world to see. Your name, your face, and the worst moments of your life, packaged into TikToks for strangers to dissect. That's what overexposure does. It takes a child's private pain and turns it into public entertainment. It doesn't leave room for context, growth, or second chances. It just freezes that child in their lowest moments and broadcasts it for. Megals claims she still talks to her daughter, that they FaceTime, that she gave her daughter an ultimatum. Get better and you can come home.
Hello, so I'm going to be responding to this comment. I still get my daughter very frequently. I literally had her not this past weekend, but the weekend before. We spent the weekend at the lake. It was rough. We still FaceTime dang near every day. If she had gotten in trouble or done something that she wasn't supposed to do and I ask her about it, she'll hang up on me. So sometimes FaceTimes aren't always great, but I still try. She does ask to come home. Well, she used to ask more frequently. Now she doesn't. She just kind of knows that where she's at is where she's staying until she's better. We are getting a new house, and I told her that she's going to have her own room. And she did ask me, this was yesterday, she did ask me, why am I going to have my own room? I don't even live with you. And I'm like, well, that's not a forever thing. If you get better, then you get to come home.
But even that, it feels transactional. Like her love has terms and conditions. Like healing is the price her daughter has to pay to earn a place back in the family. And that isn't love. That is a performance of love. And a child, especially a mentally struggling one, can feel the difference. The GoFundMe and final updates. Recently, Megal started a GoFundMe campaign to raise $6,000 for specialized brain scans at the Amen Clinic, one of the few remaining options she says might help her unlock what's truly going on with her daughter. According to her, this test could finally give them clear answers after years of failed diagnoses and mismatched treatments. But despite her social media reach, the fundraiser hasn't gained much traction. As of her latest update, she's only managed to raise $60. Megals also shared that her daughter recently came to visit. And surprisingly, the visit went well. There was no violence, no chaos, just a calm, normal day. A rare and fragile moment of peace in what has been a very turbulent relationship. It was the kind of day that gives you a flicker of hope, the kind that makes you wonder, maybe things really. But as promising as that visit was, it doesn't erase the past. It doesn't wipe away the years of pain, the viral videos, or the public fall. The internet has a long memory, and unfortunately, healing offline doesn't always undo what's already been broadcast. So yes, maybe there is hope. Doesn't always undo the damage that's already been done. Did Megals make the right call by removing her daughter from the house? Maybe. Did she make the right call by exposing her daughter online? No. This wasn't a documentary. It wasn't a private forum for support. It was TikTok. Public, permanent. You can't raise awareness at the expense of your child's dignity. Some things should stay offline. This story isn't just about parenting. It's about responsibility, trauma, and the permanent cost of overshare. Let us know what you think. Did she go too far, or was she just? And most of all, what would you have done? Like, comment, and subscribe. There is more to come.